sunset slow. Hey, you know you should stay for the night. What you think? One more drink while we sit by the bonfire. 'Cause this might be love. It's a feeling that I can't get rid of. So just take my hand, 'cause you know I don't wanna play pretend. Stay with me, take a chance, baby, roll the dice. Gotta give me some love, 'cause when I'm with you, I'm in paradise. You know how to make me feel alive. Gotta give me some love, nah, nah. Gotta give me some love, nah, nah, nah. Gotta give me some love, nah, nah, nah. You gotta give me some love, nah, nah, nah. Gotta give me some love, nah, nah, nah. Let's go!
I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
What's up, you guys? I'm Joshua Bardwell. You're going to learn something today. Hey, everybody, it's Monday night. It's Monday. It's time to stream. It's 8 p.m. I got it. You guys like the other song better. I tried it for a little while. Maybe it was, I can't keep the same song forever, can I? Can I? Is that possible? Hey, say hello to Drib here in the stream. Thank you for coming out, Drib. I miss you, man. I miss you, buddy. You know why I really go to Orlando? I've said all the reasons why I like hanging out with Rotor Riot and doing episodes with Rotor Riot, but I got to tell you what, those late nights playing Smash Brothers and drinking White Claw on Drib's couch reminds me of college. You guys ready to do some Q&A? Here's what I got. I got some news of the day, blah blah blah, before we get started. The first thing I want to show you guys is it ties into what I'm drinking tonight. So what I'm drinking tonight is Mio. This is like a berry. I don't remember the exact flavor. It's Mio Berry Squirt. Mio, sponsor my live streams. It is like a berry, something. And it's, check this out. This is Tequila from the hills of Tennessee, from Sevier County Distillery, I believe it is called. Sevier Distilling Company. They hosted our Tiny Whoop race. We did the Tiny Whoop race at the Sevier Distillery, and this was one of the prizes for winning, which I did. And that's why I'm drinking Tequila. It's tequila, but in order to call it tequila, you have to be it has to be from Mexico. So this is an agave liquor or whatever, like tequila, but from Tennessee. It's damn good. And I won that. I got to fix a mic. What's wrong with my mic, Kevin Figueroa? Something wrong with my mic? Is it all right? It's all good? It's all good? Okay. So, DVR or it didn't happen, Sam Caramel? Well, funny you should say that, Sam Caramel, because DVR. And let's look at the DVR. This is the final heat. And let me just set the scene for you guys. There we go. Let me just set the scene for you guys. I'm fair enough to say I was kicking ass. I was doing great, and I got knocked to the losers bracket. It was double elimination because halfway through qualifying, they turned the lights off in the place. And I'm like, you can't do that. Am I right? Oh, is audio? Okay, hang on. It's clipping. There, now I could yell, right? There we go. I turned the audio down slightly. But okay, but then the sun went down, and there were these high up windows, and the sun was coming in the windows. And on this one lap, I got to the back part of the room, and there was nothing. I couldn't see anything, and I crashed out. And so now I'm in the losers bracket, and I came back, and I won. And this is the final heat. Here we go. Can we? There we go. Last final heat. Me against these worthy competitors. And this is how I won this beautiful Tequila. Here we go. No audio. I'll just have to talk you through it. We'll get to your questions. I see your questions. We'll get to them, but first we're going to look at how awesome I am. That guy crashed out. Oh, that guy passed me. Oh, no, I'm having to work for this one. I'm like, oh, geez. Normally I like to lay back during a race and just kind of race safely, race carefully. But, oh, there he went. Okay, now I can lay back a little bit. Now oh no, I can't lay back anymore. Oh, there's somebody ahead of me. The hell with you, sir. I will get you. There he goes. Oh my gosh. He is. Oh, did he crash out? Oh, I'm working it now. It's 2 laps. JB, first to finish a lap. And now I'm pushing, baby. Back through the forklift into this section. Here we go. Rapid fire working its ass off. There's so much Wi-Fi and shit in here. Rapid fire working its ass off to save me. Whoop, whoop. Here we go. The ladder. That was a pretty smooth ladder. Okay, that part wasn't smooth. You can see the other guys. I slowed down here because I'm like, if I crash out on that last gate and lose, I'm going to be so mad at myself. And 1, slalom, 2, 3, and the winner is me. How do you like that? And I'm happy to tell you guys that what you just saw, where did it go? Oh, I plugged it in. So that was the Immersion RC Power Play DVR. That was not the Fat Shark onboard DVR. And I was using these, the ORT Micro Shield. I got a review of these coming up. I decided to test these out at the race. I think the reception was pretty freaking good. And the quad was the Meteor 65 from Beta FPV. Review of that also coming on the channel soon. Meteor 65. No. Somebody in MBFPV just noticed this shirt. Ready, Set, Drone, JB? Really? I don't know. Somebody said, hey, JB, I want to send you a shirt. And I was like, okay, I like free clothes. Who is Ready, Set, Drone? Are they someone controversial and now I'm going to get in trouble? MB, do you know them? Who are they? And the guy said, JB always thinks of himself as a freestyle pilot, but every time he comes to a race, he wins. And they're not wrong. I've been to three races total in Knoxville, and I did win all three of the races. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying it is true. The race at my house, I dropped out of the last heat. I didn't win that one. Because I was like, I don't want to take prizes at my own house, and I'm putting up the prizes. So I figure that means I'm one of the fastest pilots in the world, because if you think about it, Knoxville, the MultiGP Sportsman winner from Knoxville, the MultiGP Pro winner from Knoxville. Therefore, if I beat all the people at Knoxville, I'm one of the fastest pilots in the world. It's a fact. It's just a fact. Alrighty. So first of all, thank you to Beta FPV. Beta sent me this Meteor 65, and I felt like I was at a disadvantage because there were guys there running 2S Tiny Hawks. And I was like, I didn't know 2S Tiny Hawks were allowed in a Whoop spec class, but apparently they were. But second place and third place were both a Tiny Hawk. One was a Tiny Hawk S, one was a regular Tiny Hawk. And one of the guys flying the Tiny Hawk said, you beat me in the turns because I'm so much heavier. I don't know. So I was glad. Thank you, Beta FPV, for sending me the Beta 65. I had a great time flying it. And I'm also thank you, ORT, Old Time Radio Transmission, for sending me this. And it worked pretty good. So, Michael Schaefer, apparently you were there. Thanks for helping me with my Mobula 7, says Michael Schaefer. Yes, I was in between heats. I was helping people fix their quadcopters. That's what I do, man. So, yeah, Thibault says, that's some good extrapolation, JB. I am one of the fastest pilots in the world, clearly. And I will never attempt to prove it by winning races outside of Knoxville because I know better. Alrighty, guys. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do Q's and A's, questions and answers, here in case you're new here. And if you are new here, say hello. Hello, new here. It's your first live stream. Say hello. I'll shout you out. I got you guys up here. These are your questions. This is the pleb chats. Matthias Hiriznek, it says, Josh, you're really full of yourself, but I like it. You know what? Here's the thing. I'm really not. Like, when I say I'm the best racing pilot in the world, like, you guys know, I'm like, that's with a great big wink. It's only funny because it's so funny to imagine it's clearly not true, right? Hello, Leslie Shapiro, Der Esti Vogel, Model Airplane Nut, Dave Lamug. Hello, everybody. 661 FPV, you're not new here. I've seen you here before. Devon D'Angelo, Michael Nichevsky, I'm new here. James Davis, what's up? Enzo Pedrera, I know you. Why are my eyes so small and close together? Good question. And I could ask Fat Shark the same question because I have to set the IPD all the way in on my goggles. Okay. Yeah, I'm just teasing. Uneck, Hugo Herbert, Flyer Tuck, Wrong Way FPV, Jack Hagerman, Joshua Maid, Zegro20. We're just going to read names for the next 40 minutes. Corey Schroeder, Matthias, Johann, Frederick Svensson, Jack Hagerman, etc., etc. So here's what's going on, guys. Here's what we're going to do. You're going to ask questions. I'm going to answer them, and we're going to just do that for 2 freaking hours. Yep. Like Skinny Flea 262 asks, is KISS worth it? It's a good question, Skinny. And up here is the pleb chat. I will answer questions from you guys in the regular chat. We call it the pleb chat because somebody once said, JB never answers questions from us plebs. And that's not true. I do, and I'm going to prove it. If you want to make sure your question gets called out amongst the huge amounts of... There's 2 ways to do it. One is to just spam the question repeatedly in the chat. Don't do that. The other way to make sure I notice your question is to hit that $sign right down here. Leave a super chat like these lovely, lovely, beautiful people. Helps support me and helps make sure I get to your question and don't miss it. And also, over here on the left is my Discord server. Hello, Discord! These guys over here, their names are green because they give me green. They are my patrons. Zach Moore, Alex, Ghost Branch FPV. Ghost Branch has been so helpful as I've been trying to... So many people have been helpful. I don't want to miss anybody, but Ghost Branch specifically has been super helpful as I've been learning about 3D printing. Yeah. Luke Meyer says, Speaking of ORT, how is their 3-turn helical antenna? Well, Luke, I'll take you as the first question of the night. Helical antennas are very efficient, and they have very, very good axial ratio. Personally, I feel like to get the kind of gain off a helical antenna that you could get off of like a crosshair, it has to be like a 5 or a 7 turn, and it's like hanging off your face. I don't like them for goggles. I like helicals for ground stations, but not so much for goggles. Personally, and that's not the only ones. Other people feel differently. That is good. A little berry Mio squirt and that lovely flavor of the tequila. Jojo4 says, I've been amazed at how much power the Afterburner ESC lets through. Yada, yada, yada. Jojo, I want you to prove that the Afterburner ESC lets through more power. Until I see a bench test, I'm not convinced. I'm skeptical that, like, there's so much inefficiency in regular ESCs that this Afterburner ESC has figured out some way to change that equation. And the subjective feeling that it has more power, I'm just always a little skeptical of, like, when people first started saying 6S was better, I was like, well, let's see. But then eventually so many people are saying it, and there starts to be data, and you start to believe it. I would want to prove that the Afterburner ESC actually lets through more power. Mafia shit, you got nothing to apologize, man. No hard feelings. Nothing to apologize. You're all good, dude. We're all good. We're all good, dude. I'm going to get to your super chats, and the super chats are coming in, but I like to get the pleb chats for a little while first. Yeah, MBFPV points out that RC Shim did some testing on the ORT antennas. RC Shim has a lot of really good antenna test data. Very good antenna test data. And I'll talk about the ORTs in my review of them. But the ORTs, the thing about patch antennas like this is you give up a little bit of performance compared to something like a crosshair, but you get a lot more convenience. And for some people, that trade-off is worth it. Drib's here. Drib, got any questions? Have I gotten my not perfectly square print bed 3D printer calibrated yet? I've been working my ass off. Here's the thing. I've gotten usable prints out of my 3D printer. I printed an Acrobat session mount out of TPU. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. And I printed a new 2-sided fan shroud for it. And it came out, you wouldn't ever hold it up and go, look how good this print is, but it works. So I count that as a win. If you're getting usable parts out of your 3D printer, that's a win for you. But you know me, I'm a perfectionist and I want to be like good at things. And 3D printing is just this enormous deep pit that you can fall into and never climb out. There's so many aspects of it. I know what you're thinking. Oh, quadcopters are the same way. You're not wrong, but like, anyway. So I got a long way to go before I feel like I'm getting like good or like I know 3D printing. So I'm working on it though. TL Lonsdale Jones in the pleb chat wants to know, hey Josh, Betaflight isn't picking up my radio signals in the receiver tab. What's happening? TJ, you got to get your flight. There's two things that could be wrong. One is that your flight controller isn't configured right. Like in the ports tab, you have the wrong UART selected for serial receiver. And one is that you might have a wiring problem. A common wiring problem would be with the FreeSky RXSR, you're using the white wire instead of the green wire, and that's not the right wire. The exact answer, TJ, is going to depend on, what. Sorry, I'm doing something in the other window while I'm talking to you. It's going to depend on what flight controller and what the hell? No, we're not going to. There we go. It depends on what flight controller and what receiver you've got. If you want to message me on Facebook, we can talk it through, and I'll try and help you. The other thing I want to tell you guys If I can get this page loaded up. Where's my posts? No, I don't want to. Public posts. Oh, here we go. Yeah, this one. Hang on. Any minute now, you're going to be so pleased. So, I also have done something new for my patrons. I just posted about it this afternoon, which is my one-on-one office hours. So I'm going to try something new, and we're going to see how it works out. Basically, I'm going to start with like a 2-hour block, and people are going to sign up here on Patreon, and I'm going to do like little one-on-one sessions with them. So if you want to, TJ, if you want to just message me on Facebook, I'll be happy to help you via Facebook one-on-one, but not like in real time. But this is going to be like real time on Skype or whatever. And that's something that will be the ideal kind of problem to try to solve in this kind of one-on-one session. Like, what's your flight controller? What's your receiver? Twitch Alpha 2960 says, hey Joshua, I'm from Belgium. I maybe have a stupid question. Why is my Armatan Marmot already broken 2 times on the motor mount after a small crash? Twitch Alpha, the original space grade carbon fiber that Armatan released, Armatan later, like, they didn't exactly recall it, but they acknowledged it had manufacturing consistency problems. And the bottom line, if you're using that original space grade carbon fiber, then you might want to swap it out for the standard carbon fiber, which is more durable. That's a possible explanation for that. Mafia shit, is it better to use a pointy solder tip? Mafia shit, I prefer to use a 2.5-ish millimeter chisel tip for almost everything I do. For if you're doing like chips, IC soldering, surface mount soldering of really tiny stuff, then you have to have a really fine tip. But for the kind of soldering we do in FPV, I like that tip. It's heavy enough that you can do a 14 or a 12 gauge wire with a little bit of, it's not ideal, but you can do it. And it's small enough that if you have, I'm pretty decent at making tiny solder joints work with a heavy tip. So that's what I like to use. Dank Forest, do we need to be a month-to-month patron to get access to the one-on-one? Can we pay a one-time fee? Dank Forest, Patreon doesn't have a one-time fee. Patreon, now hang on though. But Patreon's whole business model is that creators need a consistent income to feel sort of safe and be able to sort of create. And if creators are constantly scared every month of, am I going to be able to pay the rent? That's not the business model. So Patreon doesn't have any one-time fee capability. It is always recurring. Now, you can sign up for 1 month, you could get your reward, and then you can cancel. That is possible if that's what you want to do. But Patreon wants to encourage you to sign up at a level you can consistently pay, and then I can sort of know that unless I do something really offensive, I'm not just going to lose all my patrons in 1 month. So Max VFPV has a really weird problem. Well, let's see if I can find it. I got to scroll back, Max V. Now I'm scrolling back and I don't see Max V's question. Damn it. Damn it. Max VFPV, D-term build to full throttle. Everybody's talking to Max V, but I don't see Max V's question. Here it is. Oh, no, armed fine. When I throttle past 50%, the quad takes off out of control. So Max V, if your quad takes off out of control after you throttle up, the most likely thing is excess vibration getting to the gyro, or excess so not enough filtering, too much vibration, or not too much D gain. Those are the things. The first thing to check in this situation is mechanical problems. Make sure that your stack doesn't have any loose screws or missing nuts. Your flight controller, sometimes you look and it's just flapping in the wind. Look for all cracked plates on your quad, loose screws, all of that stuff. Make sure your quad is completely mechanically sound. The next thing to do after that is, if you've been playing with your filters or you've been playing with your D gains, put those back at the defaults. And those are the things where you could probably get it. It's a super chat, huh? Oh, well, I guess I better get to the super chats. Let's get the super chats. There's Max V. Okay, yeah, no, I got Max V. Okay, perfect. Redbeard the Pilot, thanks for $5 in the super chat. any good travel chargers for your 4 and 6S parallel boards. Redbeard, the charger that I've got on my desk. So first of all, I have to say, my favorite charger, it's still my favorite, is the HobbyMate D6 Duo. Okay, I gotta say that because it's just true. It comes in an AC/DC version for about $160, and that's the one that I take on the road with me. Because I can just, it does like 200 watts, which is not the most, but it's enough. I take this on the road with me. I plug it into the wall when I get to the Airbnb. I don't need to bring a power supply with me. It can even charge my phone. It's got in it non-contact charging on it. You can set your phone on top of it. It'll charge your phone. It's $160. That's it's okay. It's not the best dollar per watt, but I think the convenience factor is very high. And you can see it's not small either, but it fits in my suitcase, and that's what I take with me. Now, there is also a DC version, which is 650 watts, and it's about $100, and that's probably better if you've already got a DC charger. But the DC power supply, that is. What is it called? It's over there on the desk. The ISDT. I think it's the 106. Yeah, 608. Oh, see, it knew. Amazon knew. This is a pretty cool travel charger. This is the ISDT 608 AC. Now, what's cool about this is that, hang on, I'm just going to grab it. I got it right here. I got it right here. So this is $60. Not bad. You probably find it a little cheaper because Amazon is usually marked up a little bit. But what's cool about this is that it's got a built-in AC power supply. Okay, so you plug it into the wall, but it separates just like that. So if you're going to the field and you're going to like charge off your car's battery or something, you can just take this part with you and it's much smaller. That's pretty slick. Now it is only like 8 amps or 60 watts or something. It's not massively powerful, 50 watts. It's not massively powerful, but the idea that you can split the power supply off, that's pretty slick. So, you know what, guys? I'm forgetting something important. That's okay. I saved it for now when you guys have all come into the chat. So, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Stack Exchange. Stack Exchange is a question and answer site, and it's focused more on programming usually. But the real advantage of Stack Exchange is that, like, let's find, here's the 3D printing Stack Exchange. No, that's also in beta. Damn it. Let's find a Stack Exchange. Okay, so this is a Stack Exchange motor vehicle maintenance and repair. And this person asked, can I leave my car sitting outside for about 5 years? And then here are a bunch of answers. And the cute thing is that the answers are voted on, up, down vote. And all of this information is preserved. Now, there have been several attempts to start a Stack Exchange for FPV, for Betaflight, and none of them have gone through. None of them have, because Stack Exchange has really high standards. They don't want to create all these, I don't know why they wouldn't just want to open source it or whatever. But so we're trying to get this one started because for all of these questions that people ask, and normally, I'm a little bit hesitant because normally I answer these questions. But for all these questions that everybody asks 100 times, they could get answered once in a Stack Exchange and just be done. But the Stack Exchange needs help to get past this stage. And I want you guys to help. So what you need to do is, hang on. You need to vote on questions with a score less than 10 and post questions of your own. So look right here. You're gonna make an account. You're gonna log in, and you're gonna see these questions here that have more than 10 upvotes. Don't upvote those. We need these questions. You want to upvote these questions that are less than 10 and get them to 10. Okay? We need like 40 questions to be at 10 upvotes or more. So don't touch the questions that are at 10 or above. Just get these guys up to 10 and submit questions of your own. Okay? Okay. Do that. Let's make this happen. This has been tried 2 or 3 times before, and it always fails. We're going to make it happen this time. You guys can help. There are 424 of you watching right now. I can see in my analytics. If I want all of you, I know you're not all going to do it. I want all of you to go to this URL. I'm going to paste it in the chat. Oh, it's too long. The URL is too freaking long. Okay, forget the refer. There we go. Go to this URL, create a login if you don't already have one, and upvote questions to get them to 10 and leave some more questions. Okay. I'm going to mention that again. I'll probably mention that again before the end. Thank you guys very much for that. It's going to be a big resource. This isn't for me. It's for you. This is going to be a big resource. Alex0580 says, do you still recommend the Sovol 3D printer? I just got one on sale at Amazon for $250. I still like the Sovol. Alex, what I'm learning the more I get into 3D printers is that there's no such thing as a perfect 3D printer that just works. Maybe. I mean, maybe the Prusa Mark III at $1,000, you just unbox it and it works. I don't know. But there's so much about them that you have to tweak. Things, even like if you're in a dry environment versus a humid environment, can change the settings. Any 3D printer you get, you're going to have to screw with to make it perfect. But I got usable results out of the Sovol pretty easily, and I feel like if you already bought one for $250, the thing though, that as Devil Bob FPV points out in the chat, Ender 3 Pro is an Ender 3 is a lot cheaper. And you could probably upgrade an Ender 3 to the level of a Sovol SVO1 and come out ahead for money, but you'd be doing a lot of work to get it there. Okay. Let's keep doing these super chats. Scotty56 FPV, thanks for $1. Arctic Plex, thanks for $2. We doing $2 shots? Yeah, Arctic Plex, you and me, buddy. Let's do shots. No. I'm not doing shots on a live stream. Matthias Hrinizak. Sorry, Matthias. Thanks for 5 PLN. Polish? I'm guessing Polish. Max V, I got your question. Thank you for $5. Sam Carmel, thanks for $5. You inspired me to FPV. I'll be sending you a super chat when I break my Skyliner HD that's coming in the mail. Well, Sam, Drew will be very happy to know that you purchased the Skyliner HD. Ilya, and thank you for $5 super chat. Ilya Makarov, thanks for £2, 2 quid. Have I tried the Tango 2? Ilya, the Tango 2 isn't out yet. And TBS doesn't send me pre-release stuff or anything. TBS doesn't really like me ever since I reviewed the Arum Polar antenna and said bad things about it. Well, they didn't like me before that, but they seemed to tolerate me. And then the Arum, my review of the Arum Polar was the end of it. And then now they don't talk to me anymore. So when the Tango 2 comes out, maybe I'll get one. I'll buy one. No one will send me one. Okay. Caught up on the super chats? Yeah, bearing down. Good point, bearing down. I think bearing down in the Discord says, how about you show them how the Ender should not sound like? Yeah. Here's what bearing down is referring to. This is my Z-axis on my Sovol. Oops. So apparently that's not what a Z-axis is supposed to sound like. Airheaded Aviator says that's how you know you're reviewing right, when companies are scared of your opinion. I feel a compulsion to say that, no, screw it. Let Trappy speak for himself. Trappy would not say that he nixed me because I said bad things about his product. Trappy would say that he nixed me for other reasons, and that he can take a bad review, but he can't take a dishonest reviewer. I shouldn't be doing him any favors by putting his arguments out there, but I feel like I want you guys to know that, I tell both sides, even when I'm speaking for people who don't like me. Yeah, discombobulated FPV, I think you're right that it's binding, that the Z-axis is binding somehow and skipping. I don't know how to fix it, though. I got to figure that out. I got to figure it out. Johann Frederick Svensson. Should I get the Tyrannus X9 Light Blue or the QX7? Well, the QX7 is way... No, sorry, the Light. I like the form factor of the X9 Lite better than the QX7. I never liked the flat and wide form factor of the QX7. The X9 Lite supports Access Protocol, and that's pretty cool. The QX7 supports D8 Protocol, and that's pretty cool. So you gotta figure that one out for yourself. Model Airplane Nuts wants to know my favorite flight controller recommendation. That's a tough one, Model Airplane Nuts. There's no one best flight controller. There are a lot of very good flight controllers, but here at fpvknowitall.com, my site is the ultimate FPV shopping list, and nope, not that one. I have best quadcopter parts, which includes a section on flight controllers where I make some recommendations for flight controllers that you might want to consider. And if you can't find one on there you like, well, I don't know what to tell you. Thank you for pointing that out in the Discord, Luke Meyer, and making sure I didn't miss it. Flacky in the Discord wants to know, do I need to set up Betaflight differently with Dead Cat? A Dead Cat quadcopter layout is a layout where the front motors are wider than the rear motors. I'm going to see if I can find you a picture of one. And I may also simultaneously answer the question of why they call it a Dead Cat layout. It's because of this guy, 2012. In 2012, this fella taxidermied his dead cat into a quadcopter. I'm not kidding. This really happened. In case you're young and don't know about this, this guy, his beloved cat died, and he turned it into a quadcopter. 2012 was a crazy time. So that happened. And that style of frame became known as a Dead Cat frame, where the front arms are wider than the rear arms. Here's a good example of one, a more modern one. The advantage of a Dead Cat is that it gets the props out of the GoPro and out of the FPV camera. That's the intent. And it does affect the mixing because the front motors are wider than the rear motors. When you roll, you can actually get some pitch induced. A Dead Cat is one of the cases where you might actually want a custom mixer. But realistically, just don't fly a Dead Cat. There's so many good frames now that are symmetrical, and you don't have to deal with any of that nonsense. That's what I would say. If you really want to run a Dead Cat, then you're going to have to go back and look up how to set up a custom mixer. Although, you're looking at the Raised Quad Source 1 Dead Cat. I got to say, I'm looking at it now. It sure looks to, well, the rear arms are just there's not that much difference. I would probably just run this with a Quad-X mixer and call it a day. Okay. Simon Saucy says, what about a Dead Cat for long range? You're not going to have a lot of problems. What'll happen with a Dead Cat design is when you do, which move will it affect? I think it's going to mostly affect roll. Well, if you were to do snap roll moves, you would find that the quad would tend to pitch a little bit. The PID controller may be able to fight that, and you might not even notice it. So I would just fly the Dead Cat with a Quad-X mixer and see if you notice any problems. Parts for Ben Toys. Thank you for 10 Canadian dollars. Thank you. Very generous. I only fly wings and want to upgrade to the DJI system. Will I need to use a flight control board, or can the air unit be used for control? And if so, can you suggest one? Okay, so here's the deal. There's two ways that you can use the DJI air unit. One is just use it as a video system. So the camera, the air unit is like a video transmitter. The goggles receive signal from the air unit, and you use whatever controller and receiver you're used to using. If you have a Futaba, if you have Crossfire, if you have Tyrannus Spectrum, you just keep doing that just like you always were. The second way that you can set it up is to use the air unit as the controller for the plane. And in that case, you'll use the DJI controller. Now, here's the kicker. The air unit can only output S-Bus. So if you have a plane with a bunch of servos, you got to figure out how you're going to deal with that. You can use an S-Bus to PWM decoder, an S-Bus decoder that just takes the S-Bus input and outputs PWM to your servos. Or you can use a flight controller. And I'm not 100% convinced that the S-Bus that DJI puts out would be recognized by, like, is it standard? I don't know. So I would think about putting flight controllers in if you want to use the DJI controller. But here's the thing. You already have a controller you're happy with. You already have receivers in your planes. Just keep using them. Just stick the air unit in there and use that for video. That's what I would recommend. Parts for Ben Toys. Bob VW. Wow. 10 Canadian dollars. Bob VW is putting up $20 in the super chat. With no question, just thanks for all you do for the FPV community. Thank you, Bob. That's the most generous super chat tonight. Thank you very much. Man, I got to tell you guys, this is... I've never been a tequila drinker, but this is all right. This is all right. It's got a little agave flavor. Is it agave? What is it that goes in tequila? It's going good with this berry. Very nice. Okay. Back to the super chat. Back to the super chat. Kyle K. S-Bus is a standardized baud rate. People like to complain about being non-standard from a... Yeah, Kyle K. S-Bus is standardized, but then DJI has their high-speed S-Bus. Yada, yada, yada. Will a DJI air unit fit in the TBS Source 1, asks Haschenberg. My understanding is it will fit, but you have to remove one set of standoffs. So I think they're making a version of it that's made for DJI. License to drive, that's a funny joke. I'm going to leave it in the chat, though. Hobby Howie says, I had the same problem with an Ender 3. Check your connector and make sure it's plugged in. Which problem? Which connector? There are S-Bus servos. Guillermo Nespolo points out there are S-Bus servos. But Guillermo, I'm guessing he doesn't want to rebuild his whole plane with new servos. Jojo 4 says, could you neuter Betaflight to do 8K 8K D-Shot RPM filter on an F7? Like taking out unused features to free up processor cycles? Jojo, the good news is that Betaflight can already do 8K 8K D-Shot 600 RPM filtering on an F7. You don't need to neuter it at all. It's an F4 that you have to slow it down. Ooh, 507. Is one of the Z-axis motors disconnected? Holy crap, dude. I almost want to run out of the room right now and look at my 3D printer to see if one of the Z-axis motors is disconnected. I'm not going to do that, but that would be so cool if that was true. Glenn Lee says, have you had a chance to use the SkyZone Sky03Os with decent antennas rather than the stock antennas? I'm considering these over the Orcas and the HDO2s. Glenn Lee, when I tested the SkyZone Sky03O in this video, hang on one second. Hang on one second. My kid is upstairs. I can only assume moving the furniture around. I don't know if you guys hear that in the stream, but when I did this review of the SkyZone Sky03O, I tested it. Yeah, I tested it right here at this against the Owl RC and the HDO, and I used the same antennas for both. I never tested the SkyZone Sky03O on those crappy dipole antennas it comes with. Like, The Fat Shark goggles, they come with half-decent antennas, so I often will just use them and see how they stack up. But if you look at this test, and I will give you, I'll paste that in the chat, that that right there, that's as good a test as I can give it. I'll say this, the Skyo 3.0 has a great-looking screen, and a medium-ish good receiver. So... The thing is, Glenn Lee, the Skyo 3.0 comes in at $420. The Orcas and the HDO2s come in at $500 and $650. So I feel like the Skyo 3.0 is not really threatened by the HDO2 or the Orca. The Skyo 3.0 is 1,000% worth $420 compared to the HDO2, which is 1,000% worth $500. The HDO2 has a better looking screen, but it doesn't have a receiver in it, so it's not actually $500, it's $550 or $600. By the time you get to $600, $650 for an HDO2 plus a rapid fire, the $420 for the Skyo 3.0, the fact that it doesn't have quite as good a reception, what do you care? You saved like $200. So you just got to figure out what your price point is. Ben Ayton says, can somebody please help me? My Tyro 69 is not working. I soldered it for iBus and got 2 different receivers and it still doesn't work. Ben Ayton, there's basically 2 things you got to do. With the Tyro 69 flight controller, you need to solder the bridge for iBus, which presumably you did. And then you got to set the correct UART in your ports tab. And I don't know off the top of my head which UART that's going to be. You'd have to look at the manual for the Tyro 69. Some FlySky receivers don't output iBus, they output SBus, but it doesn't seem like that's probably the one that's getting you. Again, Ben Ayton, for problems like this that require some sort of back and forth, like I might ask you to show me your ports tab or whatever, you're welcome to message me on Facebook. I'm serious, just message me on Facebook and I will get back to you and we'll talk through it. Ghost Branch FBV wants to know if drinking on stream is a YouTube issue. Some people got banned for Twitch from drinking on stream. I don't... Is that an issue? I mean, can you drink on a YouTube stream? Let's see. Am I not family friendly anymore? No. Drunk streams. How to run a successful drinking stream on YouTube. March 13th, 2018. Well, there you go. YouTube and consuming alcohol. Legal alcohol consumption is not an issue. Plenty of streamers on YouTube drink alcohol. And I mean, come on, guys. Joe Rogan, does mushrooms and streams. And he's Joe Rogan, so I think we'll be all right. Here's the thing. I keep my streams family friendly, but if you think about it, at a Christmas party, your kids might be there, but you still might have some eggnog. See, you keep your pants on, but the adults could have a drink while the kids are still in the room. Yeah. Bones FPV, thanks for $5. Do you have any info on Newbie Drone making a neoprene foam for the HDO2? That's a good question. Here's what I'm going to do for you right now. I have an ongoing conversation with Kelvin Lee, who is the owner of Newbie Drone. I'm going to ping him right now and ask him. And then the next thing that'll happen is I will move on and forget that I did that and never get back to your question. But if you remind me, or if I maybe remember, I'm going to ask him, and we'll see if I get back to you. Model Airplane Nut, have I done anything with Flight Test? No, but I'd love to. Flight Test is awesome. Flight Test, as much as anything, is what got me into RC. Back when I was first into RC, I was actually into planes for a little while, and then I got into quadcopters, and my very first quadcopter was a Flight Test Electro Hub, with poplar boom arms, and I watched Josh Scott and David Bixler and David Vindestall and Josh Bixler. I watched those guys. You guys don't know how bad YouTube content was. And then Flight Test was like, this is like real content. This is a real show. It was so good. I love it. I'd love to work with them if I ever got the chance. I would totally do it. Scott Steely, thank you for $5. How do you change one motor direction in a 4-in-1 ESC and BL Heli? I had to resolder. Scott Steely, I'm not going to plug a quadcopter in to show you, but what you got to do, you know how in BL Heli Suite, down at the bottom, there's motor numbers 1, 2, 3, 4? Just right-click one of the motors. One of the options, left-click or right-click, will select just that motor, and one of the options, left-click or right-click, turns off or on that motor. But basically, you just want to select just that one motor. That's what you do. Dalvi Negron, do you know if DJI goggles works with the Vector OSD after the last software update? No, it does not. Dalvi, the new firmware update from DJI, the air unit reads the values directly from the flight controller and sends them to the goggles, and the goggles draws them on screen. Vector is just literally drawing the OSD itself on the screen. DJI doesn't support that. Blitz FPV says, my VTX seems to be drifting channels or bands. Yes, I did cut my own antenna. Yes, the VTX is dodgy. I can't even find the VTX on the internet. So, yeah, dude. So first of all, I mean, why is it drifting? Is it literally like changing channels on its own? Like, is that something to do with your flight control? I don't know. It seems like you know the answer. It's all dodgy and sketchy and you don't know what it is, and maybe it's time to just move on. Yep. Aiden Rocky, what's a good battery charger for a beginner that's under $100? Well, we just looked at the. I mean, this is if your price point is $100, this guy, the ISDT 608 AC, comes with a power supply, and it's a decent charger. I mean, 50 watts is not like a lot, but for a beginner, it'll get your job done. It'll get the job done. How can I download BL Heli? Asks Experimental RC. Well, my goal is to have a video for every question you might want to ask. I haven't got there yet. Maybe I never will, but I got this one. And it is how to install or download Betaflight BL Heli Suite. It's this video right here, Experimental RC. I'm going to paste that in the chat for you, my friend, and that will walk you through the steps. Ethan Mitchell, that's a weird one. DJI goggle OSD shows 12 to 14 sats, but only displays the Latin lawn as 0. Ethan, can you look in the Betaflight GPS tab and see what Betaflight is saying? Because maybe they're both confused. Maybe it's not DJI's fault. Morg59 in the Discord wants to know, why hasn't anyone put dual VTX on each wing on a flying wing? If they're on the same channel, wouldn't it be better? If you have two VTXs on the same channel, their sync pulses will interfere with each other and confuse the goggles. That won't work. Matthias Hriznak, thanks for 5 more PLN. And I apologize for mispronouncing your name. I'm sure I am. So I'm not seeing an answer back from Kelvin Lee about the Max Comfort foam. It is sort of, who knows what time zone he's in. I don't know about that. We may have to pass on that answer as to whether Newbie Drone's going to make Max Comfort foam for the HDO2. Drew Cramsey, hey Josh, I just got my HX 115 HD. Wondering if you recommend any other 3-blade props. So Drew, the I think the Avon 3-inch props are really good. I can't remember whether the Avon props have the 5mm shaft or not, or whether they're the screw-on type. The other ones I like, the HQ 3x3x3 are pretty good. And there's an HQ 3x4x3, which is also pretty good. I've also just got some new props from GemFan, 3-inch props that I'm interested in. They look like they have the HQ 3x3x3 is a sort of a very dated prop design. It's just basically a flat blade. The new GemFan 3-blade props, I think Albert Kim, I saw him post about them on Facebook and Instagram if you want to check that out. They have a more modern design and maybe a more efficient design. But again, I think they're still the 2-screw kind, and that's not what the HX115 has. Does it? Wait. What? Oh. No, I'm thinking of the... Yeah, okay, well. So those are some you can check out. Chris Smith. I'm really sorry about this, Chris Smith. Hey, I shouldn't apologize. I didn't do anything. I'm just sorry about your situation. JB, I bought the pre-made light bulb smoke stopper from Race Day Quads after seeing your vid on smoke stoppers. When I plug in my quad, the bulb lights up. What's the problem? Chris, here's the problem. And I told Race Day Quads about this a while ago. So now it's fair game for me to just call them out on the live stream. But I've noticed this problem. People say my smoke stopper lights up just as soon as I plug in, it lights up. What's the deal? And finally, one guy figured it out, and he told me, a customer told me what it was, and I think I know the answer. So at the factory, these bulbs have 2 filaments, a high beam and a low beam. You know, like your brake light, it's low beam, it's dim, and then it's bright. And there's 2 sets of wires coming off the bulb, and they're soldering to just one of the filaments. Well, if they happen to solder to the low beam, you only get like a few hundred milliamps before the bulb lights. And the smoke stopper, it would be great if you were building like a little micro quad that only needed 250 milliamps, but just like your VTX alone causes the smoke stopper to light. And it's basically useless. You can fix it by opening it up and soldering the wires to both of the filaments. But that's not why you bought a smoke stopper. You didn't want to have to do that. So unfortunately, Chris Smith, your smoke stopper is basically defective. Race Day Quads needs to get their factory to fix this. The factory needs to be soldering to both of the elements, not just one. Or if they are going to solder just to one, it's got to be the high beam. So, oops. OCDFPV in the Discord, thank you for being a patron, OCDFPV. If you guys want to join my Discord server and get to hang out with all these beautiful people, these people are so helpful too. There's this troubleshooting section here. And look, when was the last time I commented on this section? Actually, it wasn't that long ago. But there's so many helpful people on my Discord server answering questions, even when I'm not there during the day. I'm so thankful to them. And if you want to join that server and hang out with me as well, especially during the live streams, you can become a patron. There's a link in the video description down below. As little as $2 a month or more. If you feel like I've earned it, you can become a patron and join all these people. OCDFPV, your question. My Alien 5-inch failsafes, and I can't explain why. I'm using FreeSky R9. Okay, let's just keep going. I'm using FreeSky R9 with R9 Slim receiver. It drops and OSD says failsafe. OCDFPV, there's so many people out there using R9 and having no problem at all. And you're not one of them. So, sucks to be you. There's a guy here in Knoxville. His name is Joshua Moon. And he's one of the organizers of Knox. He helped organize that race that I showed you earlier in the stream. I first met him on the internet, and he said, I've got FreeSky R9. I don't know how to set it up. Can you? And I said, I don't know what I was. I mean, I was like, where do you live, dude? I'll come to your house and I'll help you set it up. And he told me this story at the race. And I was like, I really said that? Because I'm usually like, okay, I'll help you over the internet. That I was like, how like desperate were you that I was like, I will come to your house and I will just set it up for you. But we met at Lakeshore Park and I set up his R9. And here's, to this day, I put the R9 firmware on his SD card in his Tyrannus. And to this day, he has not upgraded. Every single FreeSky receiver he gets, he flashes that firmware to it. And he says, I've never had a problem. So here's the takeaway, OCDFPV. Make sure your FreeSky receiver and module are on the same firmware. Like, flash them both. Don't assume. Every single FreeSky receiver you get, flash it to that exact. Just keep the firmware on your SD card and just flash that one. And if you're still getting fail-safes, just roll back one. Just go back to the previous firmware. Find a firmware that doesn't fail-safe for you. The other thing, OCDFPV, to check if you're using the Flex firmware, make sure that you are set to the correct region. If you're in the United States, you want to be on 915 megahertz. If you're in Europe, you want to be on like 868, 850. I forget the frequency. It's Europe. I don't care. Sorry, Europeans. If you're on the wrong frequency, you'll interfere with the cellular system and you'll fail safe like crazy. Now the patrons are all, look what the patrons are doing. The patrons in the Discord server are all like doing smileys and GIFs because I was complimenting them. Yeah. Any plans for a GoPro 8 review? Geyer Trones. Here's the thing. Like, I'm so bad at being a YouTuber because when GoPro 8 came out, obviously, you need to do a GoPro 8 review and get them sweet, sweet clicks. And I'm just like, I don't know. Like, what? Here's the thing about the GoPro 8. Is it awesome? Yes. Does it, the hyper smooth boost? Amazing. It's a freaking fantastic camera. It is. But no replaceable front lens cover? Like, I know FPV pilots who have a GoPro 8, and there is a scratch on the front lens. It's not even broken. Can't use it. It's ruined. What are you going to do? You going to take it to Best Buy and go, there's a scratch on the lens? No. So, I'm not going to name names, but this is what they did. They took their scratched Hero 8, and then they just bashed it with a rock until it was destroyed, and they took it into Best Buy and they exchanged it. And I'm like, how is that? So I really don't know what GoPro's thinking there. Yeah. Video frozen. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Hang on. Can you still hear me? Yeah, but can you still hear me? No, hang on. What the hell? Okay, so my streaming software still worked. It's just my camera. All right, hang on. Sit tight. This one's not Alex's fault. This is a technical. How about that? Give it 1 second. It'll catch up. Whoop. No, I don't know what happened. No, that's not Alex's fault. Alex is. You're okay, Alex. That wasn't your fault. That was my computer. That was a technical issue. Okay. Okay. We're back. Dan S wants to know: is it better to get a higher rated ESC for lower heat? Dan S, you're basically on the right track there, dude. You probably don't need a 60 amp ESC unless you're doing some really crazy stuff. But running a 50 or 60 amp ESC on a typical 5-inch rig will give you a little bit more headroom, not just for heat, but for voltage spikes. So yeah, that probably is more durable. Hey, I just got an answer. I just got an answer from Kelvin Lee, the owner of Newbie Drone. He says, regarding the max comfort foam for the HDO2, He says, I already put it to our production plan, but it might take some time to get done. So yes, pardon me, Newbie Drone will be making max comfort foam for the HDO2. Okay. Arctiplex, thanks for $2 in the super chat. Have you seen DCL, the game simulator? It looks cool. I have seen it. I haven't played it yet. But isn't that the Xbox DCL simulator? It's pretty slick. And 507RC wants to know if I've seen the Curry Kitten quad simulator. I have not. What is the Curry Kitten? I know who Curry Kitten is. Curry Kitten's another YouTuber. He's a super cool guy. Would you like to try my free FPV quad simulator? What do you got here, Curry Kitten? We got audio?
The sim.
There he is.
It started very basic, just basically moving around a landscape that I
Is he
drew
literally
out,
making a quad simulator?
To put the radio together. What we've got around to start practice your landing.
Why?
There are a few things around here. We've got plenty of people so I stuck it in there. It's a good large beach ball.
Okay, but why, Curry Kitten? I mean, I guess if follow your dream. Don't let your dreams be dreams. But why? Why are you making a simulator? There's so many great simulators. What's you just must want to do this. Is there a way to run Crossfire on a FreeSky Horus X12? Asks TJ from Bristol without soldering inside the radio. Well, yes, but no. So if you've got a radio that requires the inverter mod to do Crossfire, what you need to do is you can either do the inverter mod and open the radio up and solder to it, or you can go into the hardware screen and lower the baud rate from 400 kilobaud to, I think it's 250 kilobaud. Either one of those things will fix it. If you lower the baud rate in the hardware screen, the latency will go up. And some people are like, well, that's why I got Crossfire. I wanted the fast latency. And then some people are like, oh, whatever, I don't care. I don't notice the difference. That's the workaround, though. It says at the start of the video, I was just playing with some code. Well, I don't know what kind of a madman you are if one day you're just playing with some code and suddenly you invent a simulator. But kudos to you, Curry Kitten. Zach Cagley says, speaking of great sims, when do we get the JB property on Velocidrone like it is on Liftoff? Zach, here's the thing. One day, you know that, in case you don't know, my house is a level on Liftoff. Most of you probably already know that. One day I woke up in the morning and I said, wouldn't it be cool if my house was a level in a simulator? I was like, people want to come fly my house. They would be into that. And I looked at all the simulators and I said, who am I going to sort of approach about this? And without putting anybody else down, I remembered that the Liftoff Hanover level is actually a real simulation of the CES convention hall in Hanover, Germany. And I was like, well, that level's pretty good. Clearly, Liftoff guys know how to make a level out of reality. And I approached them and they made the level. I'm not opposed to, there's no exclusivity deal. They did it. If somebody else said, hey, we want to put your house in a level, I mean, it's not like they came here and they took measurements. I just took a bunch of pictures of my house and somehow they turned it into a level. If the guys from Velocidrone said, hey, we want to do that, I mean, I'm not going to be like, no. Unless Liftoff, I don't know. I don't want to piss anybody off. I didn't give them exclusivity, though. So I don't know. I'm not opposed to my house being in other things, but just Liftoff was the ones that I went to first. Can we just come over and fly in your yard? Asks Jason Camp. No, please don't do that. Please don't just come fly in my yard, okay? Is it accurate? Yes. Double Tap Gaming, I'm shocked at how similar it feels to flying in my actual house. It really is accurate. In fact, I have thought about... Maybe this would be so cool. Doing a freestyle contest where people post freestyle rips on YouTube and I pick the 5 winners and then they come to my house and they recreate their freestyle rip and we see how accurate it was. Wouldn't that be so cool? It would be a huge hassle and expensive as hell. So I don't know if it'll ever happen, but wouldn't it be badass? Campbell Hogg, thank you for 10 Australian dollars. I apologize, Australians, for my Australian accent. IJB, I burnt out the 3-volt regulator on my Maytech F405 OSD. Now the board won't power up when I plug in USB or batteries. Or any other way I can power the board? No. Campbell Hogg, if you fried, for $10, I wish I had better news for you. If you fried the 3-volt, if the 5-volt regulator, you could easily just connect an external 5-volt regulator to any of the 5-volt pads, and then the board would power up and everything would be fine. But if you fried the 3-volt regulator, I'm not sure where else you're going to be able to sort of inject 3.3 volts. The buzzer plus pad. No, I'm sorry. The bootloader pad. So here's the thing. If there is a 3.3 volt pad somewhere on that board, you could get an external 3.3 volt regulator and wire it to that pad and it would work. But probably it's dead. I mean, practically speaking, it's probably not worth the hassle. Anthony Short wants to know if the Success D F7 stack is a good choice for a first DJI FPV build. Yeah, Anthony Short, I mean, this iFlight makes good gear. The Success, I haven't personally used the Success D stack, but it looks pretty decent. It's basically what you want is a stack that the DJI Air unit plugs right into and the ESC plugs right into to keep your life simple. If you're looking at the Success, just based on other flight controllers iFlight has made, I feel safe recommending it, even though I haven't personally tested it. Simon Saucy wants to know if my flight controller ESC combo comes with an XT60 wire and a cap. It does not. It's just the ESC. Dan S. Good question, Dan. Are there any disadvantages to higher amp ESCs for 6S? The disadvantage of a higher amp ESC is that it's heavier. That's pretty much the only disadvantage, though. There isn't really any other disadvantage other than weight. Mad Herobot 1 wants to know any good advice for someone transitioning from RC cars to FPV drones. Eesh. I mean, I don't know. I don't know a lot about RC cars, so I'm not sure what advice to give you there, dude. Practice in the simulator. Practice in the simulator. Get those first 100, 200 crashes out of the way. Brody Broads wants to know, can you tell me what microphone setup you use? My girlfriend streams and wants a new mic for Christmas. She currently has a Snowball Yeti. I got to tell you, Brody, I have heard other streamers who use the Snowball Yeti, and it's I mean, like audiophiles would pick it apart. I think it's a good sounding mic. If she wants to upgrade, the mic that I used is the Rode NT-USB. It's the Rode NT-USB. I think it's a pretty good sounding mic. But the Snowball's not a bad mic, to be honest with you. Practice line of sight. It's not bad advice. The thing is, line of sight is a completely different skill set from FPV. Because line of sight, the challenges are like maintaining orientation, knowing whether the quad is facing in or out. Whereas FPV, there's no problem with orientation. But with FPV, the challenge is maintaining spatial awareness. Like you can drift sideways in FPV and not notice you're hitting an obstacle. So they both have their own challenges. Line of sight is a good skill just because the ability to sort of hover the quad and basically check the controls without having your goggles down, that's a useful skill. But I don't think you necessarily have to be a good line of sight pilot to be a good FPV pilot. And there's lots of great FPV pilots who can't fly line of sight worth a damn to prove it. Morg59 says, can you in the Discord, thank you for being a patron, Morg59. Can you explain the advantages of 4-in-1 ESCs that have processors built in? Morg, I think you're thinking about the newer ESCs that are like F3 based, but the truth is that ESCs have always had processors built in. Going back to I'm not even, shoot. There were the BB2 processors, and they've always had, and if you go back far enough, they had little Atmel, Atmel processors. Yeah, the old Simon K's. They've always had microprocessors built in, just like flight controllers. They typically have been less powerful processors because an ESC just has less to do than a flight controller. But an ESC has always been a little microprocessor computer driving FETs, basically. The advantages of, like, now we're starting to see ESCs that have F3 processors, which is like super overpowered for what an ESC actually has to do. And I think a lot of that is marketing, because, like, think about Betaflight. If you want to run RPM filtering at 8 kilohertz with DShot 600, you cannot do that on an F4. It's just not fast enough. If you want to run Betaflight 4.1 at all, you can't do that on an F3. You have to strip a whole bunch out. And guys like Mark Spatz, UAV Tech on YouTube, he's creating these stripped down performance builds of Betaflight 4.1 that can run on an F3. So the thing is, with BL Heli, with ESCs, there is nothing that BL Heli does that requires an F3 processor. You could buy an F3 processor ESC for, like, future proofing, but there's literally no benefit today. Now, think about automobile gasoline. A lot of times, like, the 93 octane gas will have all these extra detergents and additives in it. And so even if your car doesn't need the high octane gas, you might choose to buy the more expensive gas. With ESCs, the F3 based ESCs will often also have, like, really high quality metal FETs. So you might buy that ESC to get the better FETs, but as far as the processor goes, until the day comes that BL Heli says BL Heli 32.9 cannot run, it needs an F3 to run, well, then there's no advantage. That's my opinion. It's mostly marketing. Dank Forest. Drone Mesh has done some cool testing that shows that the F3 handles voltage noise better. I'm so skeptical of that because I just can't imagine what... I mean, maybe I'm wrong. So, but, what is it about an F3 processor that causes it to handle noise better? I think that ESC may be better designed with better capacitors or whatever. But the F3 itself, I don't see how that would handle noise better. But maybe there's something I don't know, and that's certainly possible. There's a lot I don't know. Flacky in the Discord says, is Velocidrone sim training accurate? Gravity doesn't feel real. Flacky, if you are flying in a sim and gravity doesn't feel... Here's the thing. Gravity in a sim is always accurate. Now you're thinking, oh, that's BS. Hang on. The thing is, gravity, it's 9.8 meters per second, and that is the most trivial thing in the world to simulate. So if a sim feels floaty, something else is going on. It could be related to drag. But I got to tell you, so many top racers practice in Velocidrone. I'm trying to think whether it's okay for me to tell this story. Here's what I'm going to say. Vanover, he flies for DRL. He's sponsored by DRL. So if he were practicing in Velocidrone, he'd get in big trouble for that. Enough said. So Velocidrone is a good simulator and is accurate. And if it doesn't feel accurate to you, then here's number one thing to check is your frame rate. If Velocidrone has a frame rate warning, where if your frame rate drops below a certain level, it'll pop up a warning. When the frame rate drops, the physics gets skewed and thrown off, and it doesn't feel real. You need minimum 60 frames per second. And if you have the option to get up to like 150, 200 frames per second, I know your screen, you may not have a 144 hertz screen. You may only have a 60 hertz screen. It's still better to be running the engine at higher frame rate. So if you're flying on a simulator and it doesn't feel real, turn the graphics all the way down to the lowest. Get your frame rate to 250 frames per second and see if that isn't better. Yep. Zach Kegley, my Discord link is not in all my videos. That is not true. No offense, Zach. My Patreon link is in my videos, and if you can get onto the Discord by becoming a patron. Cement Kid, thank you. You should become a patron if you want access. It's well worth the $2 or more if you feel like I've earned it. $2 a month is the minimum. Dave Lockwood, there's a lot I don't know. I just usually stay in my lane, and yeah, I usually try to talk about things I'm only smart about, and not talk about things I'm dumb about. Which is why 3D printing is such a challenge for me, because here's the thing. I got into FPV when FPV was just a baby hobby, and nobody knew anything about FPV except those old crusty guys like Alex Grieve back on, what was that old forum? FPV, shoot, what's that forum? The orange and white theme. Shoot. I mean, there were people out there who invented FPV, and they knew FPV, but I got into FPV way back at the beginning, and I sort of rode the wave to the top and managed to more or less be the smartest guy. Not the smartest, but one of the smarter guys in the room. There's lots of smart guys out there, too. I'm not trying to... Anyway, with 3D printing, there's so many super smart guys out there that I'm terrified to make any content at all. I'm like, what's the point? Every question I could possibly answer has already been answered better by 10 other people who have been doing it longer than me. But here's the thing. You guys out there like my content and like my way of presenting. FPV Lab. Thank you, Morg59. That's the forum. You guys out there want to hear my take on my experience with 3D printing. And so I'm trying to... and I want to make that content. So, yeah. So I'm psyched to do that. Although... coming from a place where usually I'm the one answering the questions to a place where I'm asking so many questions, and yet I still have to make a video, and I want it to be helpful for you, and I want to answer your questions. It's a really fine line to walk. It's very challenging. XX Bacon XX, I see that you Facebook messaged me a 14-second video on what your quad does. I'm going to look in Messenger, but I don't know where I'm going to find that, dude. What's the username? So I'm looking for this 14-second video you sent me. I made a... maybe this is it. Starla Collins. Well, Starla, you're about to get on the live stream. I don't know if you meant to do that, but Starla Collins. Let's see what your quad is doing.
Okay, here is your controller. And we have it on receiver modes. She goes up with the throttle.
All right, so... here's the first thing I notice. You know, we just go through it. When we get right to here, I see that your throttle's at... hang on.
She goes up with the throttle. Go ahead.
What's your throttle at? Yeah, so your throttle's moving. You're not fail-safed. If you were fail-safed, your throttle would be at 885. It's at, your throttle's working. Your receiver's working.
The yaw, pitch, roll.
Okay, 987 to 2011. That is the normal default endpoints for a FreeSky receiver.
All of them going around.
Mm-hmm. So you haven't adjusted your endpoints, but that's okay.
The drone moves around over there. We have these settings on here.
Yeah, okay.
Aux 14 over there. Tier 1, 2, 3, 4. And then if you go over to modes, she has the two modes on the aux 1 switch, aux 2 switch here.
Okay.
And that's your arm
Yep.
Angle, horizon, head free.
Okay.
Angle, horizon, head free, all in auxiliary, 3-way switch. And arm on the 2-way switch right there.
All good so far. No, this isn't the right video, Ghost Branch. You're right,
So
but
it seems
we'll
like
we'll
it would
answer it
work.
anyway. These people aren't on the live
Plug it
stream.
in.
They have no idea.
And this is the drone here.
Okay, okay.
It's the Real 5
Oh, yeah. That's not a D-Quad obsession?
Omnibus.
Telemetry
4S, FS4 stack. Okay, and getting the tower with no problems.
Okay. BL heli beeps are normal. Good.
Because, yeah, they're dangerous.
Okay.
Okay.
What are we going to get? Is it going to be yaw shake?
Toggle through your modes and leave it in
Okay.
the center for
Here we
horizon.
go.
No, we're not doing heads free right now. We're not that good. And there
Okay,
she
it
just
armed.
it. And you see one of them spinning a little bit.
Oh.
Here, I'll
Oh.
hold it level.
Okay. Okay. So here we know the problem. We already know the problem, guys. What's the problem? Let's play a game. Did you catch what happened? I'll rewind it. So my mental state the whole time I'm watching a thing like this is, where does it go wrong? Nothing's
We're not
gone
doing
wrong
heads
yet.
free right now. We're not that good. And there she just
It armed. Motor's not spinning.
Spinning a little bit.
And in fact, one of the motors stops. Min throttle. That is correct. Min throttle. Everything else you guys are saying, let's see. Needs props. No, shut up. That's a joke. Let me go over here. Okay. Air mode, gyro, self-leveling. The thing that didn't go right is when you arm, the motors should be spinning. The motors should never stop spinning while you're armed. And if the motors stop spinning while you're armed, it means that your idle speed is too low. So, if you're using D-Shot, you just need to raise the digital idle percent. If you're not using D-Shot, then you need to calibrate your ESCs. The correct answer is min throttle too low. If you're in air mode, well, if you had motor stop turned on, then the motors wouldn't have started spinning at all. So we can assume that motor stop is off. Now I have to answer this question because this person apparently isn't in the live stream. So I have to hang on. I have to answer this person's question. Okay, question answered. Wrong motor mapping. See, Cement Kid, if the motor mapping was wrong, then the quad would flip out. But at the end of the day, the motor still should never be able to stop spinning if the idle speed is correct. That's the most fundamental thing that's wrong right now. So other things might be wrong, but the fact that the motor was able to stop spinning after the quad was armed means the idle speed is not right. So, yeah, MC's Creations, I have pretty fast typing speed. I did a typing test on a stream once. I think I'm around 120 words per minute. Ghost Branch reminds me, Jacob Nelson is XX Bacon XX Real Video. So here's the actual question from Jacob Nelson. This is my quad on 4.1. It doesn't do this on 4.02. Help. Okay, so for the record, this is the first person in all of history who thought that Betaflight 4.02 was better than Betaflight 4.1. Congratulations, Jacob. Let's check out Jason's problem. Ooh, yikes. Are you really sure it doesn't do that on 402? That's not a PID thing. That's a motor or ESC. Okay. That's your back left motor or ESC. Here, watch what happens. Do you see that it pitches back to the left and then overcorrects front to the right? Yeah, that's your back left motor or ESC. Could be a loose prop, Mike Grimsley. That's a good point. Usually with a loose prop, you might hear the squeak. Yeah. 120 words per minute with how many errors? I'm insulted, sir. I think that's a bad motor or ESC. I know you saying it doesn't happen on 402. Maybe 402 has a higher idle speed. Like, maybe you've accidentally turned the idle speed way down. Here's the thing. A bad motor or ESC always results in the quad dipping diagonally. PID-related problems usually happen on the pitch, the roll, or the yaw axis. But motor-related problems on a quad usually happen diagonally. This is just clearly the motor dipped out. So maybe your idle speed's too low, or maybe you've gone from D-Shot 300 to D-Shot 600. I don't know exactly what it is, but I don't think it's like related to 4.1. I think it's a coincidence that going to 4.1 changed something that exposed this problem. Hawkeyed FPV suggests a wire hitting the gyro. Yeah, a wire hitting the gyro probably wouldn't be. It's just so perfectly on the diagonal. I feel like you can never rule out the gyro. It's true. Bad gyro usually results in tick, 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 tick twitches, or that, depending on how the gyro is going bad. Loose signal wire. Ciati suggesting a loose signal wire. Maybe. If the ESC lost signal, you would hear doot, wouldn't you? Haschenberg says, we need Ciati in the Discord. Ciati is on my Discord. Ciati, why are you in the live stream and not in the Discord? Get in the Discord, Ciati. I made you a special permission. Yeah. What am I hiding? I'm not hiding anything. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, I don't do Discord, says Ciati. Ouch. Metalman Sean, thanks for $1. 710 FPV, thanks for $2. How about Newbie Drone Foam for the DJI goggles? Haven't heard of any plans about that. And Nuts, thanks for $2. Wanted to say I appreciate the knowledge. Zigro020, thank you for $5. Will HDO2 hit your eyelashes with -2 contact prescription? The lenses move in or out with stronger or weaker prescription. Overall preference, HDO2 versus Orca. Well, I have my HDO2s right here. Let me see if the lenses move in or out as I move the diopter. Yes, they do. So when I move it all the way to -6, which is my prescription, it is as far away from my eye as it can be. That may be why Bachgrinder complained about it, his eyelashes hitting him, when I'm always using them with the lens as far away as it can be. So if you have a normal prescription or you're at like -2 or +2, you may be more likely to hit your lenses. With -2 prescription, I mean, it obviously just depends on how long your eyelashes are. I gave the HDO2s and the Orcas to a bunch of people at this whoop race just to invite them to try them both. Not one of them complained that their lashes hit the HDO2s. So I think Bachgrinder just has some long, luxurious, maybe it's Maybelline lashes or something. Anyway. Uh-oh, guys. Stream's over. Stream's over. No. All right, Bacon. There's your answer, dude. And sweared on stream. Okay. Trim your eyelashes. There you go. That's the answer. Vinny Van Gogh says, hey, Josh, just getting into the hobby, wondering if I should get the Fat Shark Scouts or the Attitude V5s for my first pair of goggles. Planning on doing cinema filming with the drone. What are your thoughts? The Fat Shark Scout is a solid box goggle. It doesn't have a massive sort of immersive experience. I think if you're doing, are you doing cinema filming, you're going to be using analog. Here's the thing about the Attitudes that turns, so the Attitudes have a beautiful OLED screen, but what really turns me off about the Attitudes is that they have a non-standard aspect ratio. It's a 16:10 aspect ratio. And what happens is you feed in a 4:3 image and it just chops off the top and bottom of it to make it 16:10. And that bugs me. I don't like knowing that I'm just losing parts of my camera image. I don't know why. I want my whole camera image. So I'm not saying that's a deal breaker. And I know lots of people who love the Attitude V5. Personally, I would take the Attitude V5 over the Scouts because I just don't like box goggles. So... Corey Schroeder, what kind of troubleshooting should I do on a Hobbywing stack that has a non-working OSD and no video transmission? Quadfly is fine. Non-working OSD and no video transmission. Are you able to connect the camera direct to the video transmitter? That would rule out, rule out a problem with the video transmitter. Like non-working OSD, I mean, if you have no video transmission, how do you even know the OSD isn't working? Bypass the flight controller and see if the VTX is working. That's my advice. Thank you, Trees FPV. Trees FPV says I'm a badass. Thank you, Trees FPV. Should I wait for the Tango 2 or get a Futaba 16SZ? Asks Saul FPV. Saul, I'm extremely hesitant in this hobby in general to say wait for a new product to come out. I have, and this is not an indictment of the Tango 2. I said the same thing about the TBS Fusion. Ouch, that's also a TBS product. Okay, this is going to look bad. I said the same thing about the True DX. I said the thing is there have been so many times that a new product has been super delayed, or when it comes out it's got some defect or problem. I just think, like, if you've got your money in your hand right now and the Futaba looks good to you, buy the Futaba. Okay? Tango 2, maybe it's going to be awesome. I mean, if there's something about the Tango 2 that really appeals to you, then maybe you want to wait for it, but just be aware you don't know how long you're going to be waiting. And anytime you buy a new product, like look at the Nirvana. The Nirvana, great hardware, really iffy software support and customer support that, in my opinion, kind of tanked it. I know it has its adherents, and I know why you love it, but for most people, many people who bought the Nirvana were extremely disappointed and wish they hadn't. So no matter how good a product looks like it's going to be until it's actually for sale and you can buy it, and then until the first few hundred people have bought it and found out if there's problems with it, unless you want to be one of those people, the Futaba is a great radio today. It's an expensive radio. I'm not suggesting everybody should run out and buy a Futaba, but if you're looking at a Futaba and it looks good to you and you got your money, yeah. Cement Kid Stingy sounded pretty enthusiastic about the new Tango. Well, I mean, okay. So, yeah, of course he did. Right? I mean, do the math. Trappy did a live stream. He sounded really enthusiastic about the Tango too. Okay. Yeah, of course he did. Of course he did. Yeah. It sounds like I'm dissing Stingy. I don't want to do that. Stingy is awesome. I love Stingy. Despite the fact that Stingy left Rotor Riot on, shall we say, not the best terms, I feel like I managed to stay friends with him, and I value that. And I don't want to sound like I'm dogging on him, but I mean, like, he's working for, I mean, when Drew Camden comes on and says the new Rotor Riot HD1 frame is the best frame I've ever seen, you're like, well, I mean, it's your frame. Of course you say that. And when Stingy comes on and says the Tango 2 looks pretty good, it's like, well, you worked for TBS. Of course he says that. That's all I'm saying. That's how people are. C. Joe says, what do you think of the DCL races? Yeah, the DCL races, I love the tracks. I think the DCL tracks are fantastic spectator tracks. I don't think I would love to race this DCL track. They're super wide open and not really technical. And I think that multi-GP tracks are the purest form of FPV racing. But DCL and DRL tracks are amazing for spectators, and I really love what they're doing. Groom Lake Fisherman says, didn't Stingy get fired? I'm not even going there. This is not about digging up drama. I wouldn't say personally, based on the facts that I know, I wouldn't say that Stingy got fired. No. No, I wouldn't use that term. I mean, I don't know if Drew would use that term, but I wouldn't. Maybe Stingy would use that term. See, now it's getting all messy. Let's let it go. Ghost Branch FPV says, I'm looking for a good FPV backpack. Is the Torvol still your favorite? Also, it's quite pricey. Any budget alternative you'd recommend? The Torvol is my favorite, Ghost Branch. The alternative backpacks that I know of are things like the Low Pro BPX3, which is also pretty good, although I do like the Torvol better. The budget backpacks, I feel like you give up a lot in quality. Then they just kind of become a backpack. They don't have like the nice dividers and the special pockets and the things that really make it a quad backpack. So if you really want an FPV backpack, I stand behind the Torvol. There are cheaper ones, but like if you're looking at something like the Real ACC backpack for $60 or something, I mean, you're almost better off getting just like a half decent, just regular backpack and sticking your stuff in it, because at least it'll be a quality backpack. But if you're looking for something like the Real ACC FPV backpack, they try so hard to make it an FPV backpack that it's kind of like a half-assed backpack, but at least it has dividers with Velcro. Ooh, okay. You know, but if you're looking for an FPV backpack, the Torvol is still my favorite. Luke Meyer, good question. What's one feature you'd like to see on quads that isn't there today? I would like every quad to have a lost model buzzer. If you're not putting something like the Hellgate or the V-Fly Finder V2 or the Lucky Box, or there's so many now that I can't even name them all. If you're not putting those on your quads, you're probably missing out. The day will come that you crash your quad in the tall grass and you can't find it because your battery ejected. That's a feature I think should be on all quads. How do I protect my transmitter when putting it into a backpack from breaking off switches? Well, Flocky, that's one of the beauties of like the Torvol pack. The Torvol and also the Low Pro, those are the two that I've owned. The Low Pro has a custom foam piece that goes on the transmitter to prevent the sticks and switches from getting crushed. The Torvol has kind of just an open area with really stiff sides, and basically you can put your transmitter on, and I've never broken a switch or an antenna inside. That's the beauty of it. 3D printed gimbal protectors. It's true, but I've never had a problem with it. With the right backpack properly designed, you just don't have a problem with that kind of thing. Cameron Brown cannot connect my Tyrannus QX7 to Velocidrone, and I'm going crazy. Cameron, the video you want is the Windows simulator. You want this video. Windows did an update. Windows did an update and broke your driver. I'm going to paste the link in the chat for you, Cameron Brown. Let's see. Let's see here. There's another one I saw that I wanted to get. Virus1 says, do you have a video where you explain how to install, configure, and use a Crossfire TX Lite with a FreeSky Tyrannus X90 Plus SE? Virus One, I have a video setting up Crossfire with the Jumper T16. It's not that different than the X9D, but it's the micro module, not the light module, so I'm using Lua scripts for everything. So I guess not. I guess the answer to your question is no. I've never owned the bigger Crossfire modules. In my opinion, the Crossfire micro module is all most people will need. It goes to 250 milliwatts, and that's pretty, it's a lot of range. Christopher Burmert, you can ask a question, dude. I'll do my best to get to it. Even if you can't send a super chat, you could, of course, you can always just message me on Facebook and I'll do my best to get back to you. Yeah, DJ Dubs, the Sky Pack is an amazing backpack. That's the one that Vanover and a lot of the racers use. Let's see if I can find a picture of it. Sky Pack, this is... And now for me, this is too big. It's way more than I want. It's flippin' enormous. And you can set it up every which way. And it carries so much stuff. But it's so flippin' enormous. I think Nurk uses the Sky Pack also. I'm not 100% on that. It's so flippin' enormous, though. Like it's got two sides. This right here. This is only half of it. This is only half of it. There's a whole nother side to it where the rest of your stuff is. It's unreal. And for $200, I mean, it's actually like, there are much smaller packs that are the same price. But to me, it was always just so big that I just never was the one for me. So yeah, I have to acknowledge that a lot of people like that, but it wasn't the one I liked. Yeah, DJ Dubs, it's sweet for having quads inside the bag. You can get like Vanover will carry like 7 quads with him. Okay, they're little tiny race quads and they don't have props on, but they'll just stack up 7 little quads. It's amazing. If you need enormous, the Sky Pack is the biggest one. Technically, I think it's still, you can still carry it on as well. Jacob Swearingen, is Crossfire that much better that I should look into upgrading? Yes. Well, Jacob, Crossfire is 1,000,000% better than like any 2.4 gig control. You can fly as far as your video will go and not think about fail-safing, pretty much. I've only fail-safed once using Crossfire, and that was when I did the DJI 1200 milliwatt mod. And that I have never fail-safed Crossfire on analog video. That's just a fact. And 2.4 gig, of course, that's just not true. QuadGuard BPX2 is only $79. Really? So the QuadGuard BPX2, I actually owned it before I owned the BPX3. The BPX2 does not have a laptop sleeve, and that to me was unfortunate. I liked the BPX2 because it has a laptop, or the BPX3, because it has a laptop sleeve. But Ghost Branch, if you don't mind the lack of a laptop sleeve, maybe the BPX2 for $80 is a good way to go. And yeah, you can definitely get your radio into the BPX2 without here. So it comes with this little piece of foam, and it helps protect your radio. Even a Spectrum radio, there's room for the antenna in here. Very thoughtful. The thing I didn't like about the BPX2 was that you had to lift up this piece to get at your radio, and my bag always just ended up full of junk, and I was all in the way when I tried to lift it up to get this thing out. So, didn't love that. But it's a good radio. BPX2 for $80 is a good deal. Spanky FPV, thanks for $2. No more super chats coming in. We are getting to the end of the stream. 15 minutes to the end of the stream. Yeah, you can get a separate sleeve, but then it's not all one part and parcel. I want to go back now that different people have come to the stream. I want to go back and remind you again This is a Stack Exchange proposal for drones and model aviation. Stack Exchange is an incredibly valuable site for asking technical questions and getting answers and then preserving the answers. So all those questions that get asked 1,000 times that people like me spend all day answering, a Stack Exchange could have a question and have it answered, and you could easily find the answer. There have been several attempts to find a Stack Exchange related to drones in the past, and they've all failed. Stack Exchange has a very high standards for creating new Stack Exchanges. So what we need in order to get this off the ground is for everybody to go sign up with Stack Exchange, go to this URL, and what we need are, I think it's 40 questions over to, oh my God, you guys, that we've already gotten a huge bump since the beginning of the stream. We need 40 questions over 10. Is it 10 or above 10? Yeah, so it needs to get to 10 upvotes. So log in and use the upvotes you get. Like, you should upvote this question because it's at 9. We need them to get to 10. If they're already at 10, don't waste your upvote getting it to 11. You got to get the questions to 10. So just pick the ones you like the most. And then also ask new questions. You'll be allowed to create new questions and answer questions if you can. But what we really need is to get, I think it's 40 questions at 10 upvotes or higher. Okay? And that will help get this off the ground and get it approved and be a very valuable resource for people who have questions about drones and beta flight and stuff. So please do that. There are currently 510 viewers, and I would love to see this follower number go way, way up after this live stream. If you've ever asked questions about beta flight, if you've ever Googled a question and wished that the answer was out there, this is going to be a massive resource for that if we can get it off the ground. Frankly, I'm a little bit jealous because if this gets off the ground, it's going to steal a lot of my... I answer these questions normally. So, who's super chat? Haschenberg, did I miss your super chat? Let me make sure. MC's Creations. I always miss MC's super chats for some reason. Thanks for 10 hey eyes. Joshua, I have the Real ACC backpack. I actually like it a lot. It's not perfect, but for poor guys like myself, it's awesome. I reviewed it, MC's Creations. So, I mean, I did see it. I had it in hand. It's not bad, and it's pretty cheap. Although I think the Real ACC backpack is around 50 or 60 bucks. If you can get a BPX2 for 80 bucks, that's like clearly, I think, the better deal. I just think that when you get to those really cheap backpacks, you might be better off with like just a dedicated backpack instead of like just like a surplus military backpack or something, which is going to be like a really good backpack. That's all. Here's the Stack Exchange. I'm going to paste the link again. That's what you need. Let's see. Whose super chat did I miss? Haschenberg. Where are you, dude? I don't think I missed your super chat, man. I'm going back through. I'm not seeing them. But Haschenberg, I know you can... which one is it? 710 FPV? There it is. Oh, no, Haschenberg, I did answer that, but I think I just did it so quickly you might have missed it. Newbie drone foam for the DJI goggles. No, there's no plans for that as far as I know. Enzo Pedrera, I missed your super chat? Come on, guys. Are you sure? No. Enzo, I don't see a super chat from you, my friend. I don't see a super chat from you. No, Enzo, you're just yanking my chain. Yeah. Anyway. What do you do if you love FPV but you're broke? Well, become Bot Grinder. He seems to be doing all right. I think the key to success is to eat 9 million Scoville gummy bears on stream and start a Patreon. What's the difference between Crossfire TX and the Crossfire TX Lite? Sheps to FPV, I'm pretty sure the only difference is that the Lite does not include Bluetooth, which you weren't going to use anyway, 99%, so just get the Lite. Or, in my opinion, just get the Micro. As long as your radio has a JR adapter, a JR bay, just get the Micro. So instead of going to 2 watts, you only get 250 milliwatts. But gosh, 250 milliwatts is more range than most people need for Crossfire, and the price is pretty smaller. It's pretty smaller. Yeah, that's something a human would say. License to Drive. I watched that 9 million Scoville gummy bears, and I've been refreshing my Part 107 knowledge lately. And Bot Grinder, one of the things that they make a big deal out of for Part 107 is that you cannot fly when you are not healthy to fly. Like if you are hungover, they specifically say if you're hungover, if you like took a bunch of antihistamines and you're drowsy, do not fly. And then there's Bot Grinder eating a 9 million Scoville gummy bear, and it's like, okay, but he's got old Gravy Leg there as his spotter who to take the transmitter if he gets in trouble. But then he's like, me and old Gravy Leg were up so late last night. We're both so hungover. And I'm like, ooh. But I don't think Bot Grinder's really concerned about the FAA. So as long as the FAA stays unconcerned about him, everybody will be fine. He ended up with an abscessed tooth. Oh my God, I didn't see the end of that. Wow. Ouch. Pratik Kapoor wants to know what antennas I'm using on my DJI system. Currently the stock antennas, but I know guys who are using the TrueRC stubby antennas and the TrueRC crosshair antennas, and they are way better. Will the head strap from the HD3 fit on the HDO2? I don't know why not. Yeah, it will. Bot Grinder is the Howard Stern of FPV, Cement Kid. No, I'm not sure how to say this. I want to compliment Howard, and I don't want to diss Bot Grinder, because Bot Grinder is awesome, but Bot Grinder isn't Howard Stern. I see that there's a lot of overlap. Like, Bot Grinder, yeah. There's some overlap there, but not sure that Bot Grinder is Howard Stern. The Jim Morrison of FPV. I think you're getting closer there, Mike Grimsley. Yeah. Amin Ra says, I see more crosshair antennas being used on goggles lately. Is it just a choice based on the flying environment as opposed to the traditional patch? Amin Ra, I'm going to talk more about this in my review of the ORT Micro Shield antennas, which I used at that Tiny Whoop race I showed back at the beginning of the stream. The difference between a patch antenna and a crosshair. But the short version is that a crosshair is more efficient, which means that you get more gain and or more beam width. So the advantage of a patch is that it's small and light, but crosshair is going to give better performance. All else being equal. Yep. Where did Ort come from? Matthew Bonafide. ORT, I get the impression it's just this dude. And he makes these antennas in his spare time. And he's sold on race day quads. So... Ciotti has started posting his live stream. In case you don't know who Aaron Ciotti is, A-H-R-E-N, not A-A-R-O-N. Aaron Ciotti, C-I-O-T-T-I. He's there in the chat posting his live stream. He is going to start streaming at 10 o'clock. And before you get angry, like Ronnie Renkung did at the end of my last live stream, Ciotti's not driving me off the air. I always stop my live stream at 10. I always have done 2-hour live streams, except the one time when I accidentally messed up the time zone and I did a 4-hour live stream because I didn't want to disappoint people. But I've always done 2-hour live streams. The end has always been at 10. And Ciotti politely chooses not to stream over the top of me because he'd know he'd get wrecked. He's going to be coming on in about 4 minutes, and he's posting the link to his stream. So get that in your copy paste, but don't go yet. Jet FPV, thanks for $2. Or Jeff FPV, thanks for $2. Thank you, sir. 3DRC, thanks for $5. I finally caught the stream. You've helped me on multiple occasions. Keep it up. I will do that. And What the Fred FPV, thanks for $1. If you were just starting FPV, would you go DJI or analog? Asks Sean. Sean, I have to walk a fine line. Not because, like, somebody sponsors me. Because nobody sponsors me. Okay? Yes, Fat Shark did send me these goggles. Thank you, Fat Shark, for sending me these goggles to review. Yes, Orca did send me goggles. And yes, eventually, after I bought my own set, DJI sent me a set of goggles. But I'm not like, if they said we're not sending you goggles, I would just buy them. Like I did with DJI. See, I put my money where my mouth is to the tune of $900. So the way I have to walk a fine line is because I like to tell you, I don't like to make up your mind for you because I'm not the same as you. I like to tell you what you need to know to decide for yourself. But then at a certain point, it like seems like the answer is so obvious that I kind of feel like going, no, look, here's the answer. And here's the thing. Now that DJI has this new firmware that fixes the latency on the AV input, it's a completely viable analog goggle. And if Fat Shark and Orca hadn't released goggles with an OLED screen, I would be telling you that the DJI goggle was the best analog goggle you could get. Okay, on the Sky Zone with the OLED screen. Okay, take all the goggles with OLED screens and set them aside. The DJI goggle has like a 55-degree field of view. It's a great goggle now that they fixed the analog input. So, it doesn't have OLED screens. Okay, but it does DJI high def and it does analog and it does it today. Fat Shark and Orca will say, yeah, we do analog today, and we're going to do digital eventually when Bitefrost finally matures. Or I don't know, maybe they will. But today, DJI does high def, it does analog, and if you're just getting into the hobby and you haven't dropped $500 yet, it seems like DJI is a pretty freaking compelling option. Kind of just does it all, doesn't it? Okay. It won't do long range, says MC's Creations. Well, first of all, you don't know that. With high gain antennas and a 1200 milliwatt mod, DJI will go pretty freaking far. But okay, just use your analog ground station just like you always would. Alrighty, guys. That's the note we're gonna go out on. You're right. It is big. It's big. It's kind of like a box goggle. When can we expect OLED DJI goggles? DJI, OLED, please. Please. OLED looks so good that I still like looking at standard definition analog FPV through my HDOs and my Orcas because OLED looks so freaking good. That's that good. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up this stream. It's 10 p.m. It's time for me to get off the air. Ciati is going on the air. Ciati, post that link one more time. And I will see you guys next Sunday. Next Sunday at 1 p.m. is my next stream. Look forward to all the awesome content this week. And Ciati's doing 5 giveaways. I don't know what he's giving away. Like his used socks. I don't know. But he's doing 5 giveaways, he said. So, yeah. Ciati knows just how to get subs, is to give shit away. And good for you. Break like FPV. Who did you used to respect? All right, guys. We're going off the air. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good stream, Ciati.